Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham. It's Thursday night. It's time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, we don't have a lot of games to talk about tonight. Certainly not in comparison to some of the weeks when we chat, but what quality we've got. No fewer than 6 semi-finals spread across the continents. Can't wait to get stuck into those. And we've also got the final regular season of Currie Cup action to look at as well. A couple of permutations there we can get our teeth into. And I think I've got the right guest on the show to do exactly that. Let's start with a man at the top of the screen there and welcome Chris Rowe at the Crow Tips. Chris, good to have you back on the site. You're looking a little bit drawn out. Do you have a hot date or anything in the week we should know about?
No. Which one? Which one?
Which one? I'm impressed.
I'm very good. Thanks, Brent. It's been actually a nice couple of weeks, punting wise, and I'm looking forward to this weekend as well. Lots of nice fixtures, looking good in my eyes. So looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, plenty of boys joining us on the live chat already. We're just going through there. Mark Dunphy, of course, early hours of the morning for him. Peter Paul, Steffo 86. Well, he's on time. Good to see you, Steph. Alex and Brendan Vessels, who, of course, is the conductor. Good to have your comments on the show, boys. And down the bottom of the screen, I'm coming to us from Cape Town, I would imagine. It's Thoughts on Sports. Neil, how you doing, mate?
No, Brent, absolutely superb here. You got that right. Clocking in from Cape Town. Definitely been a bit of a buzz in the city with some semi-final URC rugby. It's a tough weekend of fixtures, it must be said. But that always is the case with when you head into the knockout fixtures. The easy money has been made early in the competition, but I still got a couple of fancies lined up for the boys.
Excellent. We'll look forward to that. I must say, I'm very much a knockout specialist fan. I haven't really had a chance to do a lot of homework, which is why I'm so excited to have you boys on the show. But I do enjoy knockout rugby from a betting perspective as well. And Neil, are you going to the game?
No, Brent, I'm actually not. It's my birthday on Monday, so hosting a bit of a sort of a flat warming / house party at my flats on Saturday. So having about 30 to 40 people around at the flats, the beers will be flowing, the vodkas will be flowing. Yeah, so hopefully there's enough sort of support there to cheer on the Stormers to a well-deserved victory.
Excellent. Well, looking forward to hearing about the aftermath of that one. And let's get stuck into the rugby. We'll start with Super Rugby Pacific because we, of course, have a game tomorrow morning. And Neil, I'll get cracking with you on this one. We've got the Crusaders against the Chiefs. The handicap, it's Crusaders -8.5 against the Chiefs. I'm quoting at Sunbet, but feel free to use any bookmaker where you punt or anywhere you can find a price. A lot of support on the Good for the Game forum and on Twitter from what I've seen for the Chiefs. But at the same time, I don't think there's been a lot of line movement on this one, has there?
No, Brent, I think it opened up at 8.5. Line sort of settled at 8.5. And to be honest, I think it's pretty well priced at the moment. Crusaders, they've been topsy-turvy all season, but I just feel like that as in true Crusader style, hitting sort of form at the right time in the competition, putting out probably quite a scary outfit as what must be said. Just the back three of Fungo, Nuku, Reese, and Jordan, there's just sort of game breakers all littered across the park there. Havili and Goodhue in the centers, fantastic combination. Good to see Goodhue get back to full fitness. I'm a massive fan of his. But Brent, if I just take a sort of a step back from this game, Crusaders have been quite leaky in the penalty count all season. They have sort of struggled to put away the New Zealand opposition bar, sort of the Highlanders, but Highlanders have been a poor outfit this season. Chiefs have surprised me. I've sort of looked to oppose the Chiefs all competition. They've sort of covered a couple of spreads. They've been able to sort of get a couple of gritty away victories. Sort of that Rebels win springs to mind when obviously they were quite heavy favourites travelling away to Melbourne. Their backs went against the wall, but they're still able to grind out a 33-30 victory over here. And I think travelling over to Christchurch, it's nothing new for the Chiefs. They won't be too intimidated by this. They know that they're big underdogs going into the fixture. So at 8.5, sort of in a semi-final, conditions looking a bit ominous. I see there's a bit of a rain about in Christchurch. I really like that Chiefs pack that they do have. Luke Jacobson, very, very tiresome over the ball. It's going to cause a lot of problems for the Crusaders if they don't get that first phase ball there. Brody's been superb in the set piece. So I think that Chiefs plus 8.5 is starting to look quite handsome at the moment.
Right, so you're on the plus there. Just another, while you were talking there, I was having a look at some of the prices. Crusaders 1 to 12. These New Zealand derbies and finals quite often can be tight affairs. That could be quite a popular pick as well. Before I move on to Chris, just to get your opinion on total points there, I think I saw a line. I was looking on player bets there at 47.5. Neil.
Sure, Brent. It's probably a couple of points smaller than I thought it would come out. I'm probably priced at about 50.5. But just with the bad weather, I think that's probably brought it down a couple of notches. If anything, small nibble on the overs, but once again, semi-final footy, I think it's better to leave the points alone in this one.
Well, there's the conductor coming in. Best bet Chiefs plus will be messier than Neil's punch mix. I love that one. And Mark, yeah, Brendan Vessels is the conductor because he was looking all over for the conductor now. He's in the live chat, Mark, so he is very much there as well. Mad Dog odds coming in as well. Crusaders have been pretty underwhelming this season. Chiefs already got the win in Christchurch. And that's what interests me about this game, Chris, bringing you in here, because I've seen virtually every, I haven't seen a punter yet with any conviction go Crusaders minus. Everyone's sort of saying the plus. Yet the line hasn't moved. I guess it's just almost, I call it respect from the bookies for the Crusaders. Hey, I mean, we always say, you know, the Crusaders are capable of switching it on at any time.
Yeah.
Where's your money? Where's your money in this game?
Unfortunately, Brent, I'm not going to please you and oppose any of that. I also absolutely love the Chiefs. My first, I will be honest, actually, my guys that I look at, they're Chiefs are +7, but I've seen some movement to +9. So there must be some money coming for the Crusaders somewhere. But in saying that, I can't. Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting for the Crusaders to fire all season, maybe the last 2 years, and they haven't. They're not that brutal, ruthless Crusaders side of all. We know that now. That pack doesn't have that grunt that it used to. So I mean, if you also look at the last 2 games against the Reds, old Crusaders would have put that Red side away by 40 points in the end, but they're just not doing it. And I think when it comes to the Chiefs, I think I've been lucky. I've been saying it all season as well. I've been lucky. I've been on the Chiefs. It's a strategy that I've had this season. It's worked for me. I don't intend to change it. So I love their lineup. They got all Tupaia and Nankerville back in the centres. That's the dream team together with Gatpin's having a great season. I didn't like him before, but he's grown on me a lot this season.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so he hits the line really well. So I like, and then you've got Sam Cane on the bench as well. So if it becomes a scrap fest, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a guy like Sam Cane running onto the field with 15, 20 minutes to go to settle things up. So, you know, and again, if you look at past form, the Chiefs have done it against the Crusaders. Like the Chiefs, the Crusaders to the Chiefs or something. I don't know what it is, but the Chiefs will seemingly always getting themselves up for the Crusaders. So yes, looking at the whole context of the season, the whole context of the both teams matching up to each other. Conditions not going to probably allow teams to get away from each other. You've got to be looking at the 8 points. I mean, obviously we might all be kicking ourselves silly on Friday morning when the Crusaders do win and break that cap. But I think the Chiefs are in it to win it, and they will be up for it. And 8 points is a great bet. Also love the 1 to 12. I'll give you a nice bet at the end of the show. But Crusaders 1 to 12 is also a great bet for me.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I saw a comment on the forum last week. Can't remember who made it, but he kind of said, when everyone's in alignment on the game, just be careful.
Yeah, this is what's getting
my old mate
worried.
Brendan, who joined us last week, Brendan O'Connell, he always said when he liked something strong and then too many guys were on it, he used to feel like it was the trap coming. So yeah, just be a little bit wary there. But really looking forward to the game, and I'm going to be watching it tomorrow morning as well. I haven't got to watch a lot of Friday rugby. But let's get on to the next game and stick with you, Chris, to start us off here. We got the Blues at Eden Park. That's the ground in the background, by the way. There we got minus 12.5 here against the Brumbies. I haven't really been watching the Lions this week too much, but I will quickly look and see what I priced this one
there or thereabouts all week.
In fact, I priced it at 12.5, so it's exactly where I thought it would be.
Yeah, this is one of the first. I put some early picks out early in the week because one of the games at first I wasn't too sure about. But to be honest, as I've started to look at it over the week, I am actually starting to go more and more on the Brumbies. I think just purely, I think again, I think it's even worse weather predicted tomorrow or Saturday in Auckland, and I just think Brumbies have been there, done that in this type of rugby. I just think they're primed for it. Yeah, they haven't had a great couple of weeks, let's be fair, but they have had some good days. They did games. They did the business last week, and that is what I was expecting at least. So I still think Brumbies come there. They gave the Blues a big game last time out at their place. I don't expect anything different. I am a little bit into what did encourage me this week as well is Valentini's back, which is massive for them. They lose in Papali in the forwards, which is massive for them. So that kind of equals it out. But I also am worried about Len Ekatau, their centre, who's just quietly gone and done his business through the whole season. He's not flashy, or you don't really notice him all the time, but they've got this new guy, Shapsford, coming in at centre, and that scares me. It did scare me, but then when again I looked at it, I thought if he comes in and he fits into the Brumbies system and makes these tackles, I would hope he's not going to be much of a difference to them. But it does worry me that Barrett's, Tuasava, Sheck, Ione they're becoming quite good together, and they're giving their wings a lot of space out there. But I just don't think this game is going to allow for a lot of space. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game at all. So I think that will play with the conditions, will play into Brumbies. So Brumbies plus 12 is looking very strong for me now. I'll be definitely playing somewhere in a high plus there on the Brumbies.
Excellent. And before we go down to Neil then on this one, I've got a points line for you there, 48.5. From what you're telling me, this is a game you might be looking for a rare Crow Tips unders, because I know you're not a natural unders player.
If I'm saying unders, then that's very confident. Yeah, I could say being under 48. I'm not saying I'm putting my money there. I'm not, like 2 weeks ago when I was on the show, it was all about the points. This week it's going to be all about the plus. You'll see across the show, but I don't think I'll be touching too much points on Super Rugby and URC this week.
Well, conductors rubber stamping your views there on the Blues. And Neil, what do you think of this game? I mean, the Blues have been super impressive this season. They started a bit slowly last week before drawing clear to win well. Is this handicap well set?
Yeah, Brent, I think on a clear day at 2:00 in Auckland, it would be well set, but that's not the case. So there's obviously value to be made in this. And I just think at 12.5, I think that's a bit of disrespect for the Brumbies. Brumbies have been able to knock over quite a few New Zealand opposition, knocked over the Chiefs, the Highlanders, and the Hurricanes this season. So they're not too intimidated. They've sort of overcome that mental battle of going over to New Zealand and getting a result. So that's a big tick in my case. And I'll just look over to the Brumbies team sheet. Rob Valentini back in the starting mix. That's a massive bolter for the Brumbies. He's been such sort of a kingpin close to the try line. He's been a big ball carrier for them, knocked up a couple of meat pies over there. So I just think that this Brumbies side, they know they're heading over to the House of Pain, to Auckland. Absolutely nothing to lose. I'm getting a 12.5. I'll take it all day long. Couple in with a bit of an ominous forecast about 48.5, and I'm gonna have a big crack at that Blues under 31.5. I think that the Brumbies defense is good enough to strangle this Blues outfit. Blues we've seen super unpredictable in playoff rugby. Yeah, I just wouldn't put my bottom dollar on Blues to score more than 31 points in a playoff fixture. So if that's the case, especially with some bad weather about, I think that's a cracking bet to start us off in Super Rugby Pacific.
Right, under 31.5 there for Neil on the Blues game, and both guys leaning towards the plus. It's very interesting because I saw a tweet from at the Crow Tips suggesting he might be going against Neil. So I'm guessing we're still getting to those games, but unless the Crow Tips has done some changing of the mind.
But also, what also I like in Neil is just also I know Blues have been fantastic. They have, but yes, now we're into the meat and bones of it, and the Brumbies have been there, done that the last 2 or 3 seasons. And then Blues need to prove themselves for me. So that's another reason why if they'd done this, okay, they did win the last was it that small tournament, but I still just feel that this is a bigger tournament. It means much more. So let's see the pressure on crowds and bigger crowds. Let's see how they perform.
Right. Well, Chris, we're going to stick with you for the first URC game. I'm going to bring up a handicap here at Sunbet, minus 17.5. I checked just before the show; it was still there, but I've seen as big as sort of 21.5 overseas.
Yeah.
Mark Dunphy saying there's 21.5. With the local bookies, I've seen 18, 19. So if you like Leinster on the minus 17.5, I suggest you move pretty quickly because the line does seem to be favouring or moving outwards towards the 20-point mark. Now, Leinster, super impressive last week. I took them over 32.5 points. I can't remember if it was just before, just after halftime. I think it was straight after halftime. The bet was won and I could focus on other things. What do you think here, Chris? I mean, Leinster are just a class act. But the Bulls, I mean, at the end of the day, we must fancy their chances of at least ruffling a few Leinster feathers here.
Yeah, so I hope those notes. I was very confident on the last 2 games. I'm not going to be nearly as confident for the URC, and I apologize for that. Just these where these caps are, where these teams are, where these spots are, and you're right. Yeah, I mean, Leinster were super impressive. I know Dave Cooney, who I speak to, he was at the game last week at Glasgow. Against Glasgow, he said Glasgow were absolutely pathetic. I didn't actually catch a lot of it. So I also just wonder, obviously Leinster coming off that loss, they were always going to come in steamrolling. Don't know where Glasgow went. And then that makes me think, and I've seen this before, like what state does that put Leinster in with that type of preparation with a game like that? I don't think it's always good. But then at the same time, I feel that Leinster have just got, they're going to be, after what's happened in Europe, they're going to be so hungry to win this. So I don't think the motivation is not going to be there. And I like this Bulls side. They've been ticking along nicely, but they do have to make the trip. They do have to go back there. They're certainly going to be far more prepared than they were when they got hammered last time out there. That's for sure. But I'll tell you, Brent, when I've looked at this game, I can see Leinster winning by 35 or 3, and it just makes it a very difficult game for me to be betting on. I might have a look later on and before kickoff tomorrow, but it's just one of those games because literally Bulls because the Bulls style, it is more physical. It'll be obviously far more physical than Glasgow and these other teams that come to Leinster. So if Bulls come focused and 100% committed, they should be keeping this cap in. But if they are a little bit off the boil, maybe a little lethargic, whatever, or they're not focused as they should be because they go missing. If they go missing, they're going to get hammered. So for me, the key here is the preparation. This is one of these games where I love watching, and this is just maybe a tip. I love watching the build-up to games because if you listen to pundits on the side of the field, they watch warm-ups and they start making comments about the intensity and the focus, and they can see it. When you start getting feedback, if I start to see signs like that the Bulls are there and ready to go, I might have a little pot on the plus, but I'll be too nervous to take the minus. So it's a very uncomfortable game for me, a low confidence plus.
Well, I can tell you what, if I was a professional rugby player these days and you were basing my performance on my warm-up, you'd be opposing me every game. I was one of those guys who gave 2 stretches and I ran straight onto the field. I couldn't handle the warm-up at all, but I see these days it's a lot more intense. Right, Neil, we're going to come to you on this one. I must admit, I've looked at it, and if you put a gun to my head on the handicap here, I'm saying I'm on the Leinster. I think they're going to be too strong for the Bulls. For me, the one thing Leinster have to worry about is when they meet a really, really physical pack. And I'm not convinced that Bulls pack, certainly not in the tight 5, is as strong as they need to be to really, really, really trouble Leinster. But let's get your views.
Sure, Brent. Tricky cap. Very, very strong South African side going over to Ireland with a big handicap. I mean, one always wants to lean on the big spread, but unfortunately to the Bulls supporters out there, I'll be doing exactly the opposite there. Leinster minus 17.5. I think that's a cracker. I just for a couple of reasons. The Bulls bench just for me looks a tad weak. If things just turn a bit sideways, I just don't see a lot of sort of inspiration to bring on in the second half. Mornestein, fantastic player, but he's not exactly going to spark a 20 point come from behind victory over there. Currie Cup, obviously very explosive in the 23 jumper, so he could add a bit of spark there. But I just look at that Bulls bench and the forward pack. It's just starting to look seriously lighter. Leinster at the RDS, super fast pitch. They've already played Bulls there early in the season. I think the handicap was quite similar at about 17.5, 18.5. I know early on the season I jumped on that Bulls plus. I expected Leinster to sort of be caught sleeping against a big South African pack early on the season. It wasn't to be. They outclassed the Bulls by 28 points in that fixture. 17.5. The Leinster have just got far too much for this Bulls pack. Unfortunately, the story ends here for the Bulls. Leinster won't fall into that same trap that La Rochelle posed with a big forward pack coming over and just slowing the game down, Flyers putting the ball into the right areas of the park. Leinster fully prepared for this. They've got a lot of quality on the bench to bring on the second half. Johnny Sexton will come on with 20 minutes to go, marshal the troops, really grind out this victory. So 17.5, yeah, I just have to take Leinster. I just can't see the Bulls scoring too many in this fixture. It's going to be a seriously tough outing for Jake Weiss and co. It's almost like they're flying over for one fixture, and Leinster know that. So Leinster going to romp on home into a home final here for me.
Excellent. Well, pretty much on board with you there. Just anything on the points line? Let's start with you, Neil. Anything there at 51.5?
Yeah, Brent. For me, this will be if anything, it'll be a late strike. Bit of weather about. If weather does clear up, I'll look for a Leinster over 33.5 if I can get it. But if weather does sort of stay miserable, sort of a bit of water on the park, then it's a leave alone from me.
Sound advice there. Chris, anything for you on the points?
I think absolutely. When I'm having a bet and I'm not on the cap, I'm playing the points, as you know, and Leinster points certainly would look good.
Right, let's go back to Neil for the next game. This is Stormers at home against Ulster. -2.5. I know quite a few of this is another game where I've seen a lot of support for Ulster. I know Hendrik Swart on the Good for the Game forum came out in favour of Ulster, and there are plenty of guys supporting Ulster, but the market also hasn't moved much here. Opened, I think, Stormers -1.5. It's hovering in that sort of region. Neil, what's going to happen here? I'm going to tell you straight up, I actually like the Stormers a bit, but I feel very much in the minority.
Sure, Brent. It's a tough fixture. I mean, it's the one that the punters live for. A choice game in a semi-final. So nothing like it. But for me, there's only one way to go, and that's I'm firmly in the Ulster camp. Ulster travelled early in the season over to Cape Town with a bit of a depleted side, just due to a couple of internationals and Champions Cup duty, where they rest a couple of players. Were able to keep it exceptionally tight against the Stormers in a game which arguably they should have won that. So here they're traveling over across it's with a full strength side. Bear in mind there's no time zone differences between Ireland and Cape Town. If anything, probably a 1 hour difference over there. Weather's been great in Cape Town all week, so it's not like they're heading to sort of completely different conditions. Weather will be very much similar to what has been in Belfast all week. Ulster just coming here on a mission, and once again, Stormers with a couple of injury concerns. 12 is a big question mark for John Dobson and co. There have been rumours that Leboc's going to 12 and Tim Swill's going to 10. I don't know if that's going to happen. Personally, I've got a sneaky suspicion that Damien Willemse might get picked and sort of fast tracked from his injury rehabilitation back into the 12 jumper there. So if that's the case, that's a big plus for the Stormers. But geez, if they do opt for Lebock at 12 and Tim Sewell at 10, they might as well sort of kiss their playoff hopes goodbye. And if that's the case, then I'll get firmly stuck into the plus here. Already quite involved in the +2.5. I think it was up early in the week. Just Stuart McCloskey and James Hume running at that Stormers backline. It's just going to cause a lot of problems. Stormers are very good, a very strong forward pack up front. The likes of Kitsoff and Malherbe. We can't just sort of discredit what they're going to do. But at the end of the day, they can only do so much for the Stormers side. I know that the Stormers bench is going to look a little bit light, a lot of inexperience there. And at the end of the day, sort of the fans at the Cape Town Stadium can only take them so far. So I feel like a bit of revenge on the cards. For me, this is an Ulster -1.5 choice game at best. And if there's a bit of value on the field, you best believe I'm going to snap it up. So Ulster +2.5 for me.
Well, I must admit that if I see if you call it, you get heavyweight rugby players and you get heavyweight punters, and the heavyweight punters are coming out on the forum in the live chat, and that's very much in your camp there, Neil, and looking at Ulster. Now, I'm wondering, because I haven't seen Chris's tweets in the week, is this one of the games where you're going to disagree with Neil? I see you laughing.
No. As well, unfortunately, this, again, and it's one that I totally agree with Neil, but it's not a confident one, so I didn't broadcast it across the Twitter world. It was one when as soon as it came out, I think, there's things you say the way Ulster play. I mean, I just think they're just far more conditioned, suited to knockout rugby as well. I mean, the Stormers at home have been great. We've seen it; they're winning every game. But I've clocked back the teams that they're playing. I don't think they would have played a team of this quality yet in Cape Town as well. I've seen some reports as well that they're fired up for revenge for what happened in that pool game in the year, and that was their second team, and they should have won it. For me, I just think Ulster have the package to have the all-round package, are a better team than the Stormers, and if you put pressure on the Stormers, they will crack. They'll do silly stuff. They'll give away points, even though the defense is good. But I just think Ulster will squeeze Stormers into problems. Yeah, it's going to be a great crowd. Believe me, I've been to many Stormers semi-finals and gone home sulking and crying and upset. So I'm not worried. I'm not really worried that it's a home semi-final for the Stormers. So yeah, I agree with the guys. It's not a confident one because Stormers are very capable of doing it, but I do feel that Ulster win the game for those reasons. I just think they will be well up for it, and the Stormers will just be too loose compared to their style.
Right, T. Kawenga, they're saying unders if you can get 45 points. I haven't seen a points line on this one, but I guess you are going to get probably around 43.5 to 45.5 points on this game. I think it was last week I was on the overs in the Stormers game, and I think it arrived quite comfortably. But this game does, it certainly looks a game I'd be a bit nervous going overs on points there on that one. But anyway, good thoughts there. We're not halfway through the show, but we're probably pretty close, and I'm still waiting for Chris to disagree with Neil here after that. So let's see what we come up with now.
Well, we still got English Prem. We still got English Prem. So
we still got English Prem, and of course we've got the Currie Cup as well. Ulster performance away to losers squashed my away game concern, says Alex. So the boys very, very confident on this one. Right, let's stick with you, Chris. We're going to go to the Gallagher Premiership now. We got the two semi-finals at last. I mean, and thank goodness they're putting the semi-finals on at different times. I thought we'd have them both on at the same time. Like
that's disappointing.
Yeah,
all season. Why would they give us the treat now? Oh, so kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I love this league. I think the rugby's great, but geez, so disappointed with the way they stagger the coverage. And I understand they probably have their reasons and stuff, but yeah, pity about that. But let's get on to you for the first game. Saracens, who last week took an absolute hammering against Leicester in a game which didn't really mean much to them. They play Harlequins, who I think cost quite a lot of us last week on the handicap, if I'm not mistaken. And here we got Saracens -6.5, Chris.
Yeah, well, those games for these teams were a bit awkward, weren't they, in the spots they were in? So, Saracens not playing their full strength side, Gloucester going for it, Quins playing, well, also their side, main side, but nothing to really play for in the end. They were going to stay in the same position. So, not overly surprised that Exeter on their last hurrah gave them that game. But yeah, coming down to semi-final side, I think I had 7.5 earlier in the week, which I really liked on the plus for Quins. And just because for the reasons, I mean, Saracens are obviously great, they're a great side, but I just also, again, I don't think they've also had the odd game where they have looked shaky. They've led a lot more points than they had previously. That loss to Toulon, to be honest, was a bit of a shock. Don't know how they managed to pull that off because we saw what happened to Toulon in the final. So for me, Saracens are there for the taking. It's obviously they've been a while since they've been in the knockouts, so there's hunger there. But the Quins, when they put it all together and they up for it, which they have been in knockout games, they for me still probably one of the best sides, probably almost on par with Leicester. So I really like the plus there because also in this game, there's a big rivalry developing between these two teams. I think they hate each other. So I think it's going to also become, there's going to be nothing left out there. So for me, it's going to be a closer game, and I think Quins can very much win the game. So for me, +7 is quite well. I had +7.5. I think I don't know what it is now. I still have that, but I like the +7.5. Yeah.
Right, I'll just have a look elsewhere quickly. Yeah, you can get 7.5. You can get 7.5. If you like Saracens, you can get 6.5. Well, one man I know, he loves all his rugby, but he's bread and butter. If you had to pick one league that he would watch and punt on, I think it's the Gallagher Premiership. Neil, what are your thoughts on this one?
No, Brent. Off the bat, absolutely love the Harlequins here, just for a couple of reasons. I'm not a big believer in resting players a week before a big game. I think it does no service to the players. I think it's a big myth about rugby union that's sort of been transpiring for the last 3 to 5 years. Harlequins fresh off a game against Exeter, that would be a big test for them. We saw that they went down, I think it was 48-37 ultimately, around about that scoreline. They would have taken some heart from the fixture. They would have been able to muscle up to that massive Exeter pack, able to score some fantastic tries as well. And I just look at this game. If this game was getting played sort of at a 9 o'clock fixture at Stonex Stadium, I would have been quite firm on the Saracens minus. But you're getting a 2:30 kickoff at Stonex Stadium on a fantastic day in the UK. It's just bread and butter for the Harlequins. This is the type of game that they completely get up to. There's going to be a bit of a strength coming out of that Saracens pack. Obviously, a lot of internationals there, the likes of Vincent Koch, Jamie George, Vunipolas, Itojes and co. But this Harlequins pack is not too scared of that. They've been awfully impressive over the ball in recent weeks. They compete fiercely at the breakdown, really look to try slow it down, compete at sort of that first contact point here. And then also, if you just look at out wide, that Saracens backline does not inspire too much confidence for me in sort of an open affair. Yeah, Alex Zalski and the likes are fantastic ballers, but they're good rugby players in tight conditions. And I think that this game is going to be a lot more open than people expect to be. So I'm also targeting a points line. If I can get about 47 and 48.5, definitely look for an overs play there. And I think Harlequins can spring a surprise here. They've done it in past Premiership seasons gone by. Traveling away to Saracens. Saracens is not sort of the hoodoo ground as it's been in past seasons. Teams have gone away there and they've claimed victory. So I think that will inspire a lot of confidence in the Harlequins here. And I just look to that axis of Marcus Smith and Andre Esterhuizen. They're going to cause heaps of problems for Nick Tompkins and Owen Farrell in that channel there. So if Saracens don't switch on in the first 20, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see the first upset of the weekend taking place at 2:30 on Saturday.
Right, well, I'm licking my lips for this game now. I must say, I think it's a nice early kickoff South African time as well. I've got no schoolboy rugby to watch. I'll certainly be focused on it. Let's stick with you, Neil, for the next game. Top of the table, Leicester Tigers up against the Northampton Saints. And here we got a handicap of -9.5.
Sure, Brent. So this is a bit of a structured rugby versus barbarian style player. And for me, if you ask me this question 9 out of 10 times of the week, it's only one sort of hand of the dealer which wins on this type of fiction. That's definitely the structured play. So 9.5 Tigers, massive pack. They're going to bully this Saints side all day around. Saints have done superbly well to sort of creep into the knockouts here, and they did so on the back of some big victories against some poor sides, some very runaway victories. So coming over against Tigers, if they sort of start to play a bit loose, spread the ball a bit wide, it's going to be a very, very tough ask for Saints over here. So at 9.5, she's looking like a cracker of a player. If for a Tigers punter here, that Tigers pack is seriously scary. They're just so oiled at the set piece. George Ford pulling the strings. Potentially the last game, if they do go out in this for him in the Tiger shirt, it's a massive motivation for him. And I just see that Young's wife unfortunately passed away in midweek. I think it was a battle of cancer there. So there's going to be big motivation, a lot of emotion flying high for the Tigers here. So I just think that Leicester at -9.5, Tigers, yeah, it's been a fantastic run for them in the Premiership season, but the dream ends here and roll on Leicester into the final. They'll cover this 9.5 spread.
Well, Fareed's in agreement with you there, Alex. Saints all the way. What is at the Crow Tips got for us here?
Yeah, I must admit I've done a few 360s, and 180s and somersaults and backflips and whatever. At first I really like the Saints because again, if anyone does listen to some things I've been saying, I've been following the Saints this season, and I've been got some joy following them, and I've really enjoyed their play. They play great rugby. They're well coached. When they got their main players, all their players, and very tough to beat. And then just running into this game, Leicester were amazing. I mean, they had been amazing, especially the first half of the season, blowing teams away. But the only thing what got me excited about this cap is that, for me, Leicester haven't been the Leicester that started the season. So the form running into this game makes me feel that the Saints have a very good chance here. But then I go back and look at what like Neil's saying, if this Leicester team clicks, Saints have no chance in hell. so if Leicester come to the party, this cap's ruined. If you got a form lines in the last 3 months, this cap is going to go for the Saints. So I'm going to be a little bit. I was confident, and I've gone around, and now I'm not. I'm thinking it's pretty well capped. I think I've loved both these teams this season. So I'm not a fan of these teams, but I've enjoyed what they've done, and I think they both deserve to be there. And I think I'm just going to enjoy this game as well and wish them luck. And the cap's difficult. I'll again look at the points, but I'm finding Leicester at home is quite a tough one to call with points on their points and team points as well. So this might be a game I might not get too involved in.
Right, well, that brings us to the end of all the semi-final action, but we've got the Currie Cup as well. We've got 2 games on Friday, 1 on Saturday, I think, and plenty to be decided in the Currie Cup, including who finishes top of the table and who ultimately plays in the semi-finals. I just want to check, I might have the order of the games wrong here. I just want to make sure that I bring it up correctly, because the order of the games is quite relevant, I think, to the betting, in the sense that, let's just bring it up here, Currie Cup, got it. 4 o'clock tomorrow, it's Western Province up against the Sharks. And Chris, I'll start with you on this one. And while you're talking, I'm going to bring the log up, because at the end of the day, Western Province are out of it, but the Sharks have to win this game to go above the Pumas. And I guess they'd want to be chasing the bonus points as well. They are 11.5-point favourites. I think there was 18.5 early in the week. And believe it or not, I capped this game as plus 3.5 Western Province. So I was way off what the bookie said here. What are your views on this one?
Yeah, well, I agree. Looking at the cap, I don't believe it's 12. I think that's far too high. And it's, normally, by rule of thumb, I should be then punting and betting all over the place. But in Currie Cup, I just can't do it. I'm going to say that the cap is too high, but I'm going to stick to finally what helped work for me last week, which was points. I finally got a nice Currie Cup weekend of back-to-back nice results in the Donny Craven Stadium just before a cold front in perfect conditions. I'm not looking anywhere past them points. I'm not even going to get involved because this is a tricky one because Province with nothing to lose. And like I thought what happened last week, I had a very good feeling that they were going to do well. I had them massive on the plus halftime. Obviously, it was 21-0 after 10 minutes. I was happy. So I know you guys had the best bet on Province on the Griquas, but I think something similar here might happen again. I don't think I'm a Province fan. I've watched Province my whole life, and we're still a proud union. We're not going to lie down. Sharks are one of our enemies, so I think 12 is a little bit disrespectful, even though the Province side haven't been good all season, but they're showing glimpses that they can run with it. But obviously, Sharks. The thing is, Sharks have named a decent side. They're building Boardbank, Bosch, and a lot of the backlines from the URC. So you got to look at it on paper. You've got to say that the Sharks are obviously definitely favourites, and they're obviously going for it. That's why they brought these guys in. But the Province side can still spring a surprise. So yeah, I'm just shouts. Like Province will probably easily concede 40 points here, probably get a 20. So yeah, hopefully we got some nice generous points lines again with the points going down a bit recently. So hopefully, I don't actually know they're going to be quotes in 60 and above probably this round. But yeah, I'll be still looking at points.
Okay, yeah, but you mentioned the Griquas game. Unfortunately, the best bet in last week's newsletter, and there's a link to that down below, was the Griquas minus 3.5, but they got going far too late before they eventually edged Western Province in that one. But plenty of points flying in that game. Neil, what are your thoughts on this one? I mean, we got a Shark side, as Chris said, they have to win the game really to give themselves, they have to win the game to give themselves any chance. But are Province being underestimated here?
Sure, Brent. It's just the Sharks enigma for me. If this spread was minus 0.5 to the Sharks, I just don't even know if I could trust them to cover a minus. I feel like the Sharks player and coaching staff, week before the game, even an hour before the kickoff, they just scroll onto WSB, they look at the fixture, they see what the minus is, and completely just run in 1 or 2 points under that. But jokes aside, 9.5. I've seen 9.5. Yeah, that Sharks side should cover that spread. But once again, Chris mentioned Western Province, very proud union. On their day, as we saw last weekend against the Griquas, they can sort of run out to 28-0 head starts here and then absolutely throw the game. So it is exceptionally tough to call in the spread. Gut feel says Sharks take the minus. But once again, big focus on the points for me. Fantastic day out in Stellenbosch tomorrow. Donny Craven Stadium, immaculate turf. Wind hopefully stays away. Sharks, they have to get 5 points in order to sort of leapfrog the Pumas in this fixture. So they'll be targeting a heap of tries in this game. So if I can get anything in the 50s, you best believe I'm running to the races. I'm finding my nearest bookmaker in the shop. I'm running there with my latest paycheck, my shoes in hand, my keys to my flat in hand, and I'm putting it all forward on this overs points here. So that's my big fancy of the weekend. Been trying to keep it hush hush, hoping that there aren't too many bookmakers listening in on the show here. So yeah, that's my angle on this game, Brent. Cat's out the bag.
What's conductors saying? Loose lips sink ships. Yeah.
No, Brent, and also I'll probably put the conductor and his lovely looking spouse in this fixture as well. That's how confident I am on the overs here.
And good to see Henrik Swart joining us. And Henrik is very much a coach's man, and I'll bring his comment back up here. I enjoyed this one. Don't worry about the Sharks team on paper. Both teams have under 7 coaches. So good to have Henrik. And Henrik, look forward to, I know you're taking a bit of a break from being a guest on the show, but look forward to having you back for the internationals when I know you're going to start firing again as far as the punting goes. Neil, let's go on to the next game, though. Now, this game, when I handicap these games, I I got the order of the games wrong. I thought the Pumas and Griquas was going to be first and the Sharks were going to play after, so the Sharks would know, if they had any chance of qualifying or not. But in actual fact, of course, it's Pumas. So if somehow Province beat the Sharks, the Pumas are pretty much through. But the Pumas can jump above Griquas in the table as long as they don't let Griquas score more bonus points than them and win the game, because they do have a slightly superior points difference. We've got a handicap here of Pumas -6.5 in Nelspruit. Which way are we leaning?
Brent, to be honest, these fixtures always make me chuckle quite a bit, is because no matter what happens, no matter what's going on in the season, the handicap for these fixtures will always be 5 or 6 points in terms of the favourites. If the Griquas are playing at home in Kimberley against the Pumas, the points line will be 5/6 minus towards the Griquas. So it's pretty much the blindfold on for the bookmakers, throwing the darts at the board, give them the home team the -5, -6.5. And to be honest, I've had quite a lot of success sort of in my approach to these style of games. Don't look at form, don't look at anything, just have a crack on the plus. Neil Otto for me is enough to back this Griquas plus. He's an absolute menace at the breakdown. He's worth sort of 2 players for this Griquas side. Yeah, Griquas don't have a lot to play for in this fixture. They can still qualify unless the Sharks beat Western Province by 60 odd points due to a points permutation here. So Griquas pretty much nailed on for the semi-final berth over here. But once again, this is a proud union. Every week in, week out, these players are playing for senior contract. They're playing for the likes of the Sharks, the Bulls, the Cheetahs, and the Stormers, sort of chomping at the bit to sign these players up. So at 6.5. Yeah, I quite fancy the Griquas just cover the spread here. The Griquas coaching staff, seriously underrated. They've done a fantastic job all season and just shows sort of the mentality in the camp last weekend. After a horror start to Western Province, were able to sort of overturn that deficit and ultimately grind out a well-deserved victory here. So at 6.5, you got to just take the underdogs on the spread for me.
Interesting, because my first thought was Pumas, with more to play for, might be the team here. But I appreciate your input there on Griquas. I guess Griquas will also, for me, be looking to score some tries, because, I mean, even if they just get a bonus point, it might be enough to secure third spot. And I guess at the end of the day, Neil, I wonder what sort of emphasis the guys actually put on third spot here, because ultimately you're either away at the Cheetahs or you're away at the Bulls. You're in for one hell of a hard game in the next round. So I guess I would imagine they're not worrying too much about third as long as they qualify.
Yeah, spot on, Brent. I don't think that the Griquas players' math skills are too good and permutation skills are too good. So I just think it's very much a rock up on game day and win at all costs type mindset. Matric maths definitely took a backseat a couple of years ago for a lot of those players.
Excellent. Right, Chris, your thoughts on this one, the big clash in Nelspruit? Are we going to look at a plus here?
Yeah. I'll be honest, Brett, this is not one game I've looked at it all in depth or probably going to be overly invested in. So I would probably happily follow Neil here, not oppose him for sure. I think I agree. Placia sounds good. Griquas are having good season. They as reiterating what Neil said, and the team they're putting out's decent. So I think they're going to end well. I think there are a better side than Pumas. So yeah, I know there have been some changes, but I do agree that the plus, if you're going to play the plus, is the way to go. Be interesting to see how it goes. How Pumas go. Do they tense up? If it's close, do they go for it? So I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm going to, even though normally it's always points, I'm probably going to stay away because I could see this becoming a little bit scrappy maybe, but no big feels, yeah.
Right, well, I'm going to take the log down now in just a second, but I just want to point out we've got the Cheetahs coming up against the Bulls. Now, the Bulls lead by 4 points. The Cheetahs, I think, have blown a lot of chances to potentially top the table, but they have a 1 point superior points difference. So that means that as long as the Cheetahs win by more than score 4 more points than the Bulls, so in other words, 5-1 or 4-0, then the Cheetahs, as far as I can see, will top the log. So bringing that down, we'll stick with you now, Chris, on this game. It's very much where I capped it, which I was -4.5. You can get -5.5. The Cheetahs there, I see it, and this is at WSB. What are your views on this one?
Yeah, I agree. It's very, very, very well capped. And I do think the Cheetahs do win the game, do the business. getting 50-50 whether they cover the cap. But again, I'm gonna this again where I said I'm not going on the points, looking at points. This is a game I will look at points. I think when the Bulls put out this type of side, Cheetahs at home with the side they have, there's usually good points flowing. So especially when these two meet each other. So yeah, that's what I'll be looking at again as points.
Right, Neil, what the final game are we going to cover before we go into the best bets? Anything strong on this game?
Yeah, Brent, strong fancy on the Cheetahs to cover against the Bulls. Cheetahs have been completely lackluster, I think, in the last 3 to 4 fixtures. That'll change against the Bulls this weekend. Bear in mind that the Bulls have had to take a 26-man, I think it's a 26 or 27-man squad over to Leinster, so immediately had to dip into the resources. That's 3 or 4 players stripped away from the Currie Cup squad. I just don't know too much about the Bulls' sort of resources. That bench will definitely look a bit light. Bulls have been very impressive, but travelling away to the Free State Stadium, seriously tough ask. Harvey's Free will be absolutely livid at the performances the last few weeks. This 5.5, this is 3 or 4 points too low for me. Cheetahs are going to absolutely smash the spread and romp home with 5 points on the weekend. So very strong fancy for me on the minus 5.5 here.
Excellent. Well, great to hear such a confidence there. And that takes us into the best bets. Before we get into that, if you are watching the show, whether live or recorded, hit the like button. It does help the channel a lot. If we can get a few likes, that YouTube somehow or other with the algorithm spreads it out a bit more. Chris, you got something more for us there?
Just quick one. Because I actually have been involved. I've been getting myself more involved in French rugby this year. I do actually have 2 just
okay. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Just quickly, I do really like La Rochelle +4 against Toulouse. I just think the season they have in the grudge they have against Toulouse, I think they are better than Toulouse. I think they +4 for La Rochelle is a tip that I would like to give out. And I love Bordeaux at home 1 to 12 bets. When these two type of teams play each other, it'll probably be low scoring. Home team 1 to 12. So I love La Rochelle +4 and I love Bordeaux 1 to 12. Just if anyone's interested in playing top 14 this weekend.
Excellent. I'm sure plenty of the boys on the show will be watching top 14. It's something we've got to look at, expanding the show. And I'm not necessarily saying expanding this show, because I think there's a limit to what you can cover in sort of an hour or whatever. But, perhaps next season have a bit of a spin-off, perhaps cover the French leagues. I know Alex, for example, bets a lot on the US leagues. So, we can have a look at that sort of stuff as well. Right, but we're going to get into the best bets. Now, I'm just chuckling at Henrik saying he's struggling to keep up. Neil was saying what a top punter Henrik is, and Henrik said he's struggling to keep up with the youngsters. Geez, Henrik, you're a youngster to me still, mate. How do you think I feel when you talk like that? But I agree. I actually wrote an article in the Citizen once about it. Punting is for the youngsters. I look at guys like Neil, Conductor, Henrik, all of the guys. I used to sort of have my finger on the pulse all the time, and now I'm just in the very fortunate position that I know a lot of guys who've got the finger on the pulse, and I can benefit from that. But let's get into the best bets. Chris, we'll start with yours.
Yeah, sure. So the 2 Super Rugby games are certainly my best bets for the weekend. Love the plus on the Brumbies and the Chiefs. I also quite like Neil's pointing out there of Blues under 31. I think that's very, very big runner. And then I love the overs on the Province game. So, those will be what we've discussed today will be my four strongest punts for the weekend.
Excellent. Nice calls there from Chris. Let's get Neil's best bets before we say goodbye.
No, perfect, Brent. First up, over 99.5 points in the Province Sharks game. That's a gift. It's 10 to 20 points too light there. So then the next up, sure. It's tricky, but I like Northampton. Sorry, I like Leicester to cover against Northampton. I like Brumbies to cover against the Blues, although it is always nerve-wracking as you just never know what Blues side could turn up. If the Blues won 47-3 on Saturday, I wouldn't be surprised. It's that type of fixture. But then next up, I've got a very, very strong fancy to Cheetahs covering against the Bulls. I think the Bulls there'll be a little bit of qualities littered across the backs. Like Severity, Richard Creel will be in the mix there, but I just don't think that Marco Janssen van Vieren, also a good player, I just don't think that'll be enough to cover against the Cheetahs away in Bloemfontein. So that minus 5.5, that gets the rubber stamp for me.
Agree.
Excellent, great contributions, guys. Let me first of all thank all the boys in the live chat. We really had plenty of action tonight, and so many quality punters there. So much for everyone to learn about punting. And we never all right all of the time, but if we put our heads together, we can certainly take the bookmakers on. And then to my guests, let's start with the Crow Tips. Chris, thanks very much. I look forward to seeing your tweets on Twitter. I know you like to go for your alternative points, multiples, some of which aren't available in SA, but I know Boyle Sports, for example, where you take yours, is actually busy launching in SA. In fact, the Oracle Rugby is going to be working with them. So we will be getting those sort of bets soon, hopefully.
The bet. But I also see, I saw a South Africa bet. So I'm sure some of the guys have the alt points now as well, right? Bet.co.za. So I think there are some bookmakers doing alt points. But I'll be certainly be punting some of those this weekend. This weekend's got a law lined up for the alt points doubles. Licking my lips on those for sure.
Right, and there I've got Henrik's bets on the screen that he likes. He's clearly getting into confident form ahead of the internationals. And then Neil, to yourself, thanks very much, mate. Enjoy your birthday / housewarming, and hopefully you'll have some good winning punts to make it all the more exciting this weekend.
No, thanks so much, Brent. It could be a drown your sorrows type weekend, but also could be a celebrate the victories. But either way, I'll be very liquid on Saturday and looking forward to a nice hangover on the morning of Sunday.
Excellent. Yeah, me too. But that's just an average weekend for me. But looking really, really forward to that one. Gents, thanks very much. We'll see you all next week at 9 o'clock. Of course, it's going to be finals weekend next week. And we'll be back for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Thanks, everyone. Have a cracking weekend.
Yep, chill around.